A European Social Rights Committee has given the go-ahead to the investigation of a landmark collective complaint against Ireland. The complaint includes the views of some 20 groups around the country and examines areas like dampness, sewage, maintenance, pyrite and consequent health impacts on residents. Brian Lally met some of them today.
I live in a complex of 120 units called Bernard Curtis House, and we are all suffering from dampness, mould, and it's just degrading and embarrassment.
That's Carol Quinn there, telling me a bit about where she lives.
From October to March of every year we have damp, mouldness, water runs down the walls. You're constantly redecorating, you're constantly handing out money for heating. It's embarrassing for people to bring people into the home because sometimes it can smell. It's just very degrading. I joined forces with the Community Development Programme in Bluebell, and they put us in contact with CANS, and through this we learned about the collective complaint, and at long last somebody is listening to us.
Cecilia Forrestal from the Community Action Network is that somebody.
As a member of the Council of Europe, we signed the revised European Social Charter. So we have identified a number of articles in that charter that are being violated by the housing conditions that you've just heard Carol speak about.
Cathal McCarthy made the trip to today's announcement all the way from Limerick.
Regeneration has impacted very negatively on our communities in Limerick. They focus largely on depopulating the estates, and the effect this had is when they detenanted areas, they boarded up houses, people left. Those houses were left to be looted, burnt out, and putting pressure on the homeowners then to move out. Those homeowners then were bought out for a pittance and put into rented accommodation in other parts of the city and other counties. So they actually broke up whole communities. South Hill, O'Malley Park, you had 601 houses when regeneration came to town. Now some of them were boarded up. There's about 220 left, and most of them are boarded up. The neighbouring estate in Keys Park in South Hill, you had 175 houses. I think you have about 60 or 80 houses left, and there's also a lot of boarding up there as well. Antisocial behaviour never went away. I mean, I know a lot of talk was given to the gangs. The reality is you had a lot of looting for copper. There was an estate called Clarina Park. It was built 16 years ago. It had 49 perfectly good houses, and they're all demolished and gone now, and their tenants are scattered. You know, that's only 16 years old. There was physically nothing wrong with those houses. You'd be jealous of those houses.
Also present today was Mary Cooney, who lives in Balgaddy.
The mould comes around all year round, whether it's warm or sunny, but obviously if it rains, it actually makes it worse, and the rain will actually come down the walls in the house or through the hole. Yeah. When you first move into a house, it takes a while for it to settle, we were told, but it's 8 years and it's still cracking.
What did they say to you about this 12-month mould that you've got?
They just say wash it off. It's not actually mould, it's condensation. Condensation doesn't grow in your wall. And open your windows, cook with your windows open, don't dry your clothes in the house. Basically don't breathe if you can avoid it, to stop mould or to stop the condensation, whatever they want to call it. Yeah, that's what you get. And it's so frustrating because you know that that's not what's the cause, and then they make you feel like you've done something wrong when you obviously haven't.
It is a real problem in some ways that people can't bring a collective complaint in Ireland within Irish law.
Drive Time listeners will be well familiar with the name Nolene Blackwell of FLAC.
By the 20 organisations being able to come together, it actually is going to be a more useful complaint, not only for the people but also for the state, when they can show the evidence across a wide range of organisations. So the lack of a class or collective action in Ireland is a real difficulty for the promotion of public interest matters in Ireland. People are asked to go out on a limb as individuals at huge cost, because if, for instance, they have to do that, if it's not successful, then the problem is that they risk an awful lot as well. But it is that business of being able to make a better understanding of what the legal issue is. It will make it more forceful, because if one person is making a complaint, that's only one story. If you can see across 100 or several hundred, as you can here, then you can see what are the core issues that are coming up again and again. So those are the things that a class action, a collective action, can identify.
We've gathered the evidence, we've done the work for them. All they have to do now is do some action and make sure that local authority tells tenants are looked after. Like this is happening in new estates. With us being all together, it just gives us that extra power that we're hoping that this will never happen in the future. Because when regeneration happens, it's not just about bricks and mortar. You have to make sure that you're looking after the community, but you also have to make sure that the actual structure of that building is going to last for at least 60 more years. Let's see some action. It's not fair on residents who have left their homes. I expected it to be our home, but I didn't expect to still look across and see my home still standing boarded up. We know the money is there, so let's see the action behind it.
The state now has to give a response to the Council of Europe by the 28th of May. We then get a chance to reply to that, and then when that's all done, there will be recommendations made, and that will go to the Council of Ministers. Probably the whole thing will take the best part of a year, and we're hoping that tenants will go to Strasbourg themselves to make their own case.
Brian Lally was reporting for us there.
The state is facing a class action lawsuit over the issue of substandard local authority housing in Limerick and Dublin. Those living in 20 housing estates, including those in the 4 regeneration areas of Limerick, have had their case against appalling living conditions accepted by the European Committee of Social Rights. They say the consistent damp and mouldy accommodation is impacting on their families' mental and physical health, which is against European standards. Cathal McCarthy from Limerick Regeneration Watch says the massive regeneration programme led to the poor conditions.
You would have found cases like that in Limerick when regeneration started, but the impact that depopulation had, the depopulation process where they started to empty out the estates and board up houses, those boarded up houses were subsequently looted for copper, and the water leaked into the houses next door, saturated the walls, and that accelerated the onset of penetrating damp. So many of the conditions that are mentioned there were created as a result of the regeneration process.